Branch Oceanographic Institute.
Bienvenido, ¿verdad? Buenas noches, good evening. Mi nombre es Carla Montano, ¿verdad? Soy la coordinadora de los grupos de Roots and Shoots de Puerto Rico, ¿verdad? Y les damos la más cordial bienvenida esta noche a la charla, ¿verdad? De Acuicultura sobre Carrucho, ¿verdad? So tonight we're going to have Dr. Megan Davis to introduce us this topic. So you can start your presentation, Dr. Davis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Buenas noches, hola. I am very happy to be here today to present our research and our work from Puerto Rico. And this presentation is called A Community-Based Queen Conch Hatchery and Nursery in Puerto Rico for Restoration and Sustainable Seafood. So we're talking about Carrucho and we're talking about aquaculture. This is a project that is funded with NOAA Fisheries. It's a partnership with Harbor Branch, where I work, and with Conservación Conciencia, with Raimundo Espinosa, and also with the Naguabo Fishing Association. So I will begin to show you about our facilities and our work. As you know, that many of the communities in Puerto Rico depend on the fishing of Carrucho for their livelihoods, and it is considered an artisanal fishery in Puerto Rico. The Queen Conch is a very significant molluscan fishery throughout the Caribbean and is fished in many of the countries in the Caribbean for its meat, and then it is also valued for its shell. It's an important keystone herbivore because it grazes in the seagrass beds, so it has a very important ecological role in our ocean habitats. Throughout the Caribbean, there has been fishing pressure and also habitat loss that has led to some population declines in a number of different countries throughout the Caribbean region. In Puerto Rico, there are conservation measures in place. There is a closed season, there is a size limit, and the number of conch that can be collected per day by the vessel, by the boat, can be 300 or 150 per fisher. So there's very good conservation measures for sustainable fishing in Puerto Rico. So after the Hurricane Maria, there was quite a dramatic decrease in the number of conch that were collected. You can see that before Maria in 2016, in just 1 month from one fishing association, there was 8,000 pounds of conch collected in November, but after Maria, it was down to 400. Part of the reason for that was that the shallow waters disturbed the habitat of the queen conch, and some of the conch would have also been buried. So this is one of the reasons why we are focusing on the queen conch, because it is such an important fishery species in Puerto Rico, and we can help with restoration and also with sustainable seafood. So the queen conch, I mentioned to you that it has a number of different regulations, and part of it is included in the queen conch fishery management plan. Right now, most of the Carrucho that's fished is consumed locally and sells for anywhere from $9 to $14 a pound. And I already talked about the disruption of the habitats from Hurricane Maria. So many of you may know where Naguabo is located. We're actually on the Juqueras Beach near the Malecon of Naguabo. And so here's San Juan, and here's your beautiful island of Puerto Rico. And where you see the star here is Naguabo, or the Malecon. And so we're right on the water. Here is the Naguabo Fishing Association. And here you can see a close-up of the Fishing Association. Some of you may be familiar that there's several fishing associations throughout Puerto Rico. And in this particular one, along with other fishing associations, the fishers are members of the fishing association, and they each have their own locker where they can put their fishing gear, and then they bring in their catches, and the president of the association helps to sell their seafood. So the Fishing Association was very kind and provided us an opportunity to have a hatchery there. And my colleague, Raimundo Espinoza, who is the executive director of Conservación Conciencia, has been working a long time, 5 or 6 years, with the fishers at the Naguabo Fishing Association, so has established a very good relationship and partnership. So the president, Carlos Velasquez, was very kind and opened up the Fishing Association along with Julio Ortez and along with the 22 other fishers that are part of the Fishing Association. So this is where the home is of the Naguabo Queen Conch hatchery. Just to give you a little background on how we got started, it was in June of 2018 that Raimundo and myself met at what we call a MAFAC meeting. This is the Marine Fisheries Advisory Committee, and the committee advises NOAA Fisheries. And so we both are members of MAFAC, and we started to talk about the idea of building a fishers operated Queen Conch hatchery. And then I was able to come down to your beautiful island in October 2018 and meet with Carlos. You can see Carlos here, and Raimundo, myself. And we talked about the opportunity of having a Queen Conch farm. And we put in a proposal in November of 2018. And that was a proposal to the Salt and Salt Kennedy. And we were funded to start and build the Queen Conch farm. And so it was in September that we received the grant. And then by early 2020, we started working on the facilities. And then in January 2020, we started ordering all the supplies. So we had, you can see over here on the right-hand side that we were given 3 fishers lockers. And so that gave us some space that we took down the walls, and then we painted the inside and we started plumbing. But we actually couldn't do all of this until after we could travel again after COVID. So it was really not until April, a year ago, April in 2020, we started to do the renovations and started to put all the plumbing and everything together. And then in June, we received, in April 2021, last year. And then, but during COVID, we did receive all our tanks and supplies. And so Raimundo and Carlos were able to put them into the hatchery and start to assemble some of it as well. So really it was April 2021 that we started to build and install the systems. And so you can see over here on the lower right-hand corner is what we call our reservoir. It's our saltwater tank. And you'll see more of that. I'm going to show you a video as well. So I would like to introduce you to the team. We have an amazing team that works at the Naguabo Conch Farm, Conch Aquaculture Hatchery. So let me start here with Raimundo. who I've mentioned, is the founder and executive director of Conservación Conciencia. And then we have Edna Diaz Negron, and she is the aquaculture manager. She's from Puerto Rico. And Victoria Casar, she just recently finished her time with us as the hatchery manager. So she was on the ground with us for a year and did a lot of training and helped us with the establishment of the growing of the Carrucho. Maria Garcia is our hatchery assistant, and she is the wife of one of the fishers. And then we have Chalier Doms Ortiz, and he just finished his research internship with us. He had a 3-month internship and worked on helping us with one of our designs for growing the conch as juveniles. And then Paola Sotomayor Landron, she is a recent research intern, and you're actually going to meet her briefly tonight. She will be working with us on conch and also with sea vegetables. And then here is Carlos, who I mentioned is the president of the Fishing Association, and Julio, who is the treasurer of the association. And Julio helps us a lot, along with the other fishers. They help us with the collection of the eggs and also help us with the installation of the hatchery and many other things that help us to be able to be successful. There's me. I am with Harbor Branch. So in regards to our goals, we have 4 goals, and one is to build and operate this pilot scale hatchery. So we're already doing that now. We do open the facility for others to come and learn about queen conch, and I hope that some of you get an opportunity to come and visit us. And then the next phases that we are working on is growing the conch large enough so that we can release them into the nursery habitat. And we will work very closely with the fishers, and they will help us to determine which habitats, which nursery habitats we will release into. And then we're working on a plan to see how we can expand the hatcheries and the nurseries and grow out into other areas of Puerto Rico. So let me just briefly share with you the larval cycle. And so the conch are here. The female is in the front. This is the front of the conch where the eyes come out. And then the male is behind, and that's their copulating position in order to fertilize the eggs. So they breed a much longer time in Puerto Rico than other places in the Caribbean. They will breed, as far as we know, they will breed from March until really almost year round, because we've seen eggs year round. And so maybe not in all places, but definitely in the places that we're seeing in southeastern part of Puerto Rico. So then the female lays an eggs, and you can see the eggs right underneath the female here. Here's the eggs. The eggs have 500,000 eggs in them. And then they hatch into these larvae, and the larvae swim for 3 to 4 weeks. And then they'll settle, they'll go through a metamorphosis, and they become small juveniles that are only 1 millimeter in size, very tiny. In the wild, they'll settle into the sand and they will bury. They will go under the sand for at least 1 year, and then they come out of the sand at about 1 year, and it takes them almost 4 years until they are sexually mature again, and that's when they are the right size for fishing. So this is a schematic of our hatchery, and this is the, let me start here with the eggs. So here's the eggs, and as I mentioned earlier, the fishers collect small pieces of the eggs, not the whole egg, just a very small piece, and then the rest is left in the wild to be able to hatch there. In nature, only 1% or less than 1% survive. So we just bring a small portion in and we can increase the survival of those velagers and of those conch. This is what the eggs look like when they're developing. And we have something called an egg incubator where we keep them. And then these are the larval tanks here and the metamorphosis. And then over here is the microalgae area. So I am going to now play a video for you so that you can see a virtual tour of the actual hatchery, of the Naguabo hatchery. So let me see how I can start this. Hold on just a second. Let me just see. Oops. Okay. Let me share again. Okay, I see now what's going on. Just make sure you can see most of this. Here we go. No, I don't think it's going to play for us. Let me see if I can find it on the internet. Okay, hold on one second. Apologies.
You can try see the bottom actually enable content on the top right.
Okay, I think I'm just going to go right to YouTube.
Okay.
But I will have to reshare again. Can you all hear that?
No, we can't. Did you share the sound too when you share the screen?
Okay, hold on.
Now it's better, I think.
Is that good, Charla?
Yes, we can hear.
Hello, I'm Megan Davis. I'm a research professor at Florida Atlantic University, Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute, and I'm an aquaculturist. I've been working with the queen conch aquaculture for over 40 years now, and I'm very excited to be showing you our Puerto Rico queen conch hatchery with our partners here at the Fishing Association and Conservación Conciencia, which is supported by NOAA Fisheries.
We've been working with Carlos and the fishers here in the Naguabo Fishing Association for about 5 years now. So we've had several collaborations and they've really been very successful. Just really listening to them, how we can further integrate them into our conservation projects and to our research projects.
The first step that you have to always think about when you're establishing a queen conch aquaculture farm or hatchery and nursery is, where is your hatchery going to be located? It can't be inland. You can't make your own salt water. You have to find a site that has salt water in place. And so here we are at Huqueras Beach in Naguabo at the Fishing Association, and we happen to be on a beautiful bay here where we pump our salt water. We don't have a permanent line here. We have a temporary line that we use. And we pump that water about every 2 to 3 weeks into a reservoir. Now I'm gonna show you where our water goes to on the days that we do the pumping. And so we store our water in a reservoir. So let's go ahead and go that way. Okay, now that our reservoir tank is full, the next step is to be able to start using the seawater. And here we go. Here's the 1-inch pipe that comes from the bottom of the reservoir tank. It comes through this pump here. This pump pumps at about 15 to 20 gallons a minute. So now here we go from the pump up into the filters. The filters here are what cleans up the water. We have 100 micron, we have a 25, and we have a 5, and they're all in series. So the water has to go through one before it can go through the other, and it continues like that. So now that we've left the filter system, I've been talking about water going up. The water is actually going up into the UV unit. So after our water goes through the ultraviolet sterilizer, then it starts to make its way around the rest of the circular system. But I want to show you something here. So it comes through the ultraviolet up high. You can see that valve's open, and you can see this line here. This is the line that goes into the hatchery. Okay, I'm going to show you around our aquaculture facility for raising the queen conch. We're going to start here in the corner. This is our larval area. This is where we raise the veligers. The veligers are in these 68-liter tanks for 21 days. We do water changes throughout those 21 days. We have 5 tanks here. Then as we start moving around the room, this is our egg incubator. We can hold up to 8 egg masses. It just so happens that we have 8 in here today. And then as we continue to move around the room, this is our metamorphosis area. We have shallow tanks here. We have trays here. We're a new hatchery, so we're not quite ready to metamorphose. It's going to be in about another 10 days. We'll have larvae in these systems ready to metamorphose. But I did want to show you that we have 2 tanks here, and that this system will also be on its own recirculating system. So then we leave from metamorphosis area. I just want you to see that we have a cleaning station here. And from the cleaning station, this is our microalgae area. We have the flasks that we use to feed the larvae, the veligers. We have more flasks that we use for scaling up. So this area is devoted to microalgae, along with being able to scale up and grow algae in these, what we call sun tubes, that can be used to flocculate algae to feed to the metamorphosed conch. I also want to let you know that storage is quite limited in this hatchery because it is a small hatchery. So down below the algae area, we've devoted an area where we can have our supplies that we need on hand. We also have a refrigerator in the laboratory. That's very important. We use it to store media that we have for the microalgae. We also have a freezer capacity. The freezer right now doesn't have anything in it, but as we continue our culturing process, we'll be making food for the juvenile conch, and we can store it in the freezer. We have a microwave. You might be wondering why we have a microwave. We have the microwave to help sterilize the media culture so that it gets ready for inoculation of microalgae. So we have a cleaning station over here. We have to clean glassware. So it's nice to have a sink that has both salt water and fresh water plumbed to it. You can see that we don't use a typical household handles for fresh water and salt water because they would actually rust. So we use PVC instead with PVC Tygon tubing. And then we have our sink here. I love laundry sinks. They're perfect for the laboratory. That way they won't rust at all. And then we have our working station here. Our working station allows us to have 2 microscopes, both a compound microscope for counting algae cells, and then we also have our dissecting microscope that we can use for observations for eggs and also for larvae. This space is a multi-use space. We need to make sure that in any hatchery that we have a dry working space where we can do inoculations of algae, where we can do data work, where we can do our microscope work. That wraps up our tour of the hatchery, but you might be wondering, how many conch can this hatchery produce? Our goal is to produce 2,000 juvenile conchs that are this size, that are about 7 to 8 centimeters. So the hatchery produces more larvae than that. We can produce, let's say, 10,000 larvae in order to get the 2,000 juvenile conchs, because they all go through different stages and there is some mortality along the way, but the hatchery actually increases survival significantly compared to what's in the wild.
Okay, I hope you all enjoyed that opportunity to see the virtual tour of our facilities. I'm hoping that you can also hear me now. Is that correct? I'm back on speaker.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So the video that you just saw was taken almost a year ago. And since that time, we have quite advanced our facilities. And we did start our first hatching in June 2021. So just a little less than a year ago. And you can see here's the incubator with the eggs. The eggs do take 4 days until they're ready to hatch. We've had our first egg masses brought into the hatchery just a week ago. So the season has begun, and we just had our first hatch a couple nights ago. So that's very exciting. And then you can see the larvae here. The larvae hatch with 2 lobes, and then by the time they're ready for metamorphosis, they have a total of 6 lobes. And they're a lot bigger by then, because when they first hatch, they're only 300 microns. And by the time they're ready for metamorphosis, they're 1,000 microns or 1 millimeter. And so we had our first successful metamorphosis in July of 2021. So some of our conch are almost a year old. And then here's the microalgae over here. So we're continuing to raise conch every month. We start a new batch, sometimes sooner than that, depending on how long it takes for the villagers to grow. And now we have a functioning nursery. And I mentioned to you earlier that Chalier Don Zortez was our research intern from December through March. And he helped us to operate this nursery facility. It was the first time that we had turned the water on, and he figured out, the temperatures and the salinities and how to operate the pumps and how much maintenance the conch need. And so that was some very great work. And actually he now is publishing an article about his work with us. So you can see this is the nursery rack here. We have sand on the bottom. We feed them a gel diet, which we make out of seaweed. And then you can see one of our little conchs here with its proboscis out. They are grazers, so they eat algae their entire life, and they're very good at grazing. You can see here the size from about 1 month to the size that we're growing them for release, which is about 7 to 8 centimeters. Here's a few more conch in our hands here. And then this is Chalier maintaining the sand. So about every week we spray the sand to remove any of the waste from the conch and also any uneaten food. So in regards to what's next, we are continuing to operate the hatchery. We plan on producing more hatchery conch for putting out in coastal pens. And then we're also looking at how can we increase the value of the queen conch. And we will work very closely with the different chefs in Puerto Rico, different restaurants, try different types of menu items, culinary dishes, and see if the value of the conch can be increased. There's lots of different recipes that can be tried from different parts of the Caribbean that we can try also in Puerto Rico. And then we have a new project that we just got funded by both USDA and also Puerto Rico Sea Grant. And this is to work with what we call saltwater aquaponics, which means that we produce the sea vegetables on the effluents from in our case, from the conch, but we may also introduce some other sea creatures. Maybe we might work with some lobsters and fish, and the nutrients that come from these species will actually grow the sea vegetables. So there's nothing wasted. It's a small ecosystem within itself. And so you can see that we're already starting to grow some plants on the conch waste, on the conch effluent. And we plan on growing the sea vegetables for human consumption, but also for restoration. And Paola is our new research intern that I mentioned. She is an alumni of University of Puerto Rico, Humacao, and she just started a couple weeks ago. So we're quite excited to have her on the team. And I believe Paola is on watching today, this evening, and she may want to say a quick hello just to introduce herself. Paola, you
Hi,
there? There she is.
can you hear me?
I don't
Can
think
you
we
hear
can
me?
hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. No, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, I just want to say a quick hi. My name is Paola Sotomayor. Like Megan said, I graduated from the University of Puerto Rico at Humacao. I did a bachelor's degree in coastal marine biology, and now I am the research intern for the Naguabo Acuiculture Center, where I will be working mostly with the sea vegetables, although I am getting very familiar with the queen conch and working with them as well. But mostly my focus will be with the sea vegetables, hoping to get restaurants and chefs to help us build like a market with them and try to get them more into our culinary dishes here in Puerto Rico, and also for coastal restoration. So that will be mostly my focus during my internship here.
Paula, thank you so much. And I know that some of our guests today may not speak English. Would you mind just giving a brief introduction in Spanish as well? Thank you.
Claro que sí. So, como le estaba diciendo en inglés, mi nombre es Paola Sotomayor. Me gradué de la Universidad de Puerto Rico en Humacao, de un bachillerato en biología marina costanera. Ahora soy la intern del Centro de Acuicultura en Naguabo. Estoy trabajando con los carruchos, pero mi enfoque va a ser los vegetales marinos. Así que vamos a estar trabajando con 3 especies de vegetales marinos. Vamos a tratar de moverlas en lo que es, ¿verdad?, la arte culinaria en Puerto Rico. Ya hemos contactado a algunos chefs para entonces crear, ¿verdad?, ese market en la isla. Y también queremos usar los vegetales marinos para poder restaurar las costas. Estos vegetales crecen en la arena, así que son muy buenos para, ¿verdad?, combatir la erosión. Así que son bastante apropiados para utilizarlos en proyectos de restauración en las costas. Así que ese va a ser mayormente mi enfoque, pero como les dije, sí también trabajo con los carruchos y es bastante interesante. Así que estoy aprendiendo un montón y va a ser, ¿verdad?, lo que voy a estar mayormente enfocándome durante mi internado en el centro.
Gracias, Paola.
Nada.
So we continue to work on the project and work very closely with the fishers and also with the local community. And these are our significance of the project, with assistance of stock enhancement or restoration for the conch population, diversified incomes for the fishing community. We do pay the fishers for collecting egg masses and working with us in the hatchery. We do provide training and career opportunities for students, which you heard a little bit today, what we have done with Charla and also now with Paola. And we up to share our information, just like we are today with the community. And then and this is a model hatchery. Many people in the Caribbean are very interested in what is going on in Puerto Rico. So You should be very proud that your island is very much at the center of focus for Queen aquaculture. And I also wanted to let you know that we do have some other resources that we use for training and for information. And we have a Queen Conch manual, both in English and just recently was introduced in Spanish. And that is an online version that can be accessed, and we can certainly help you find that. And we're also in the process of developing an online course on how to grow the Queen Conch. These are some of the ways that you can stay connected with our project. We do have our websites, but we also are active on social media. The Queen Conch Lab and Conservación Conciencia both are on Instagram, and Conservación Conciencia is on Instagram and also Facebook. And Harbor Branch also is the location where I work. So with that, I have concluded the presentation, but I would be very happy and welcome to have some conversation around our projects and questions, discussion. And thank you for this opportunity to allow us to share our work that we're doing.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. It was amazing to know about the project here in Puerto Rico. So nice to know that, you know, this project is going on and that you're receiving interns and all that. So we hope that we can visit and have the opportunity to in Naguabo, because thanks to Jose Camacho, we learned about what you were doing. So we decided to make the invitation. So thanks for that and for being here with us tonight to share all that experience. I don't know if anyone has a question for Dr. Davis. You can write it on the chat, or you can open your microphone and do the question too. Don't be shy.
I got a couple of questions. First one is when you're changing water on the tanks, how do you prevent the larvae from leaving the tank?
That's
You're
such a great,
using
yeah. That's such a great question. And Paula, this is her first time doing this with Marie. They were working on this, and with Edna too over the last couple of days. I'm just wondering if maybe Paula might like to share this in Spanish, the answer.
I can't. ¿Me pueden escuchar?
The question was, how do we change the larvae? How do we get the larvae out of the tanks without losing them?
Yeah. ¿Me escuchan bien?
Sí, se escucha.
Ok. Pues básicamente nosotros tenemos un envase donde nosotros creamos como por succión. Nosotros lo que hacemos es que ponemos una manga, ¿verdad? En el estanque donde están las larvas. Entonces, por succión ellas van a entrar, creamos como por gravedad, le echamos agua a la manga, y entonces todas las larvas vamos a recoger la parte de arriba, porque la parte de abajo no la queremos. Usualmente en la parte de abajo podemos encontrar algunas de las larvas que no sobrevivieron o están muy débiles y se acomodan en el fondo. Así que con la manga vamos recogiendo sobre la parte de arriba nada más, y ellas se van acumulando en un tanquecito especial que nosotros tenemos para que entonces, ¿verdad?, nos llevemos la mayor cantidad de las larvas que sean las más saludables. Y así es como las transferimos. Las ponemos, el tanque especial que digo que utilizamos tiene en la parte de abajo como si fuera un screen, un pequeño filtro, ¿verdad? Una tela de filtro, donde las larvas no pasan. Así que ellas se acumulan ahí. Entonces, con agua salada, ¿verdad? Entonces hacemos la transferencia al otro tanque.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Paola.
So Jose, I thought you said you had more questions, I think.
Actually, I do. So the intent is to have a hatchery for repopulation or repopulation, or trying to help recover the population of queen conch in the sea, and also I guess you're meant to have a commercial hatchery. Is that right?
Right now, we have a pilot scale hatchery, and we will continue at the pilot scale. However, we did just receive some larger tanks so that we can raise more larvae. So right now we are doing the conch for restoration in the nursery, but also we will begin to do some pens so that we can watch them and observe them as they grow to the market size. So we will do this as a pilot demonstration with the opportunity maybe in the future to go to a larger scale.
And how long it takes for them to get to both stages, the stage where you will take them back to the wild, or the stage where they become commercially available?
Right, that's a great question. So this is the size for the restoration. And before they go into the wild, we will actually have them inside a pen first that will be in the wild, but they'll be in a pen so that they can acclimate to the ocean and to, eating on their own, where we're not providing all the food for them, and also to get them used to bearing and, being around potential predators. So we will have them in the pen for a while. And then it takes about 3 to 4 years until they're fully mature to be able to harvest them. So it takes 1 year to get to this size, and then another 2 to 3 years to get to maturity. And then these conch, this one here is a very thick-lipped conch. It has a thick lip, and this one is probably more like 20 years old. So they don't get any longer. They just get thicker and thicker. And then they live to be about 40 years old.
Wow. And you mentioned that the female and male conch. Is there anything visible that can differentiate them?
Actually, this is a great question, but there's really no distinguishing feature on their shells. So it's, in order to know, you have to see them come out of the shell, and the female has an egg groove and the male has a verge. And so that's the way you can tell them. So they if you hold them like this, they'll actually just come out, and you can see their foot and see what sex they are. If the male and the female are copulating, the male, this would be the female, and this would be the male. And so when they're in this position, you can tell the male and female as well. And of course, if she's laying eggs by herself, we know it's a female. So those are some of the ways to be able to tell the sexes of the two sexes.
Interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I will be looking for that next time I find a
Okay.
conch.
Okay, good. Let us know.
Thank you, Jose. There was a question here from Elizabeth. She says, thanks for the interesting project. Hopefully it will be replicated to other species in Puerto Rico. It's very important for species recovery. So our question is, in addition to students and community, volunteers are included for this project?
Right now, we we don't have volunteer positions, but we have positions open for internships. And so we are excited to have that opportunity to have anywhere from 1 to 2 interns at one time. As the project gets bigger, we'll have more opportunity to have more interns come and participate with us.
Is it possible for us to arrange a visit to the facilities to see the
Absolutely.
in person what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely, Carla. We would welcome you all to come.
We would love to do that, definitely. So I don't know if anyone else has another question or a comment.
Yes, I know you're probably on a very early stage, but do you expect this project to spread throughout the island, or at least through the coast?
Yes, we do actually, and we just heard some very good news today that we received additional funding to expand to other locations in Puerto Rico. So we're very excited. So you all are hearing the news for the first time.
Excellent. We really need that.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Jose.
Congratulations. We hope to see you in the south of the island so we can be more closer here.
Yes, yes. So yes, I'm interested to learn more about all of your backgrounds as well. So maybe we could spend a few minutes. You could tell us more about Roots and Shoots and also what you all do on the island. It'd be really interesting for us to know.
Sure, I think we can arrange a meeting and talk about it too. If you like that, yeah.
Yeah,
So
great.
yeah, because it's a lot to talk about, so it's gonna be interesting to have another chance to do this and also get together and visit. That will be nice, so we can talk and see what you're doing and to know if there is a possibility of more collaborations, you know,
Yes,
while
we would
you're
like that.
expanding.
Yes, that sounds great.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Davies.
I think there was a question still.
Yes, me, please.
Oh, sorry, Ligeia.
Don't
Go
worry.
ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't know if, because I haven't practiced my English, so I don't know if you already explained it, or maybe I missed it, or I didn't understand. I don't know. But is there a reason, a particular reason for this species in particular to grow them, and because, for example, here in Chile there is a kind of clams that they are like the more sustainable for eating them and etc. So maybe you also have some kind of similar reason.
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a really important question. This species would not be found in your waters because you have cold water down in Chile, and it's only in the Atlantic and Caribbean. So this species is the most important mollusk that's fished in the entire Caribbean. And so it's a species that lives in the shallow water, also to deep water, but shallow water. So it's an easy harvest, easy to harvest. And so it's always been part of the culture of the Caribbean. And so over the years, there's been, less and less conch being able to be collected. It actually became part of CITES, the Convention of International Trade of Endangered Species, Appendix 2, in 1992. And that's when they started to put even more restrictions that the countries have to have a sustainable fishing plan. So Puerto Rico has a sustainable fishing plan, and all the islands that are part of CITES for export, especially, are part of CITES and have a fishing plan and have guidelines, and that helps the species as well. But one of the most important things, you know, when Jose was asking how old they are and how long it takes, one of the most important things is that they have this lip. Sometimes, unfortunately, we find that they get fished very small and then they don't get an opportunity to grow. So the most important thing is that they've had a chance to reproduce.
And one last question, please.
Sure.
You told, I mean, about the culture there in Puerto Rico. Are there some, I don't know, indigenous people or organizations that maybe they were like losing some of their culture because of this lack of this species, or I don't know? Do you work with them? You said that you work with the community and
we do.
the teacher.
Yes, we work very closely with the fishers that are at the Naguabo Fishing Association, and their fishing practices is artisanal fishing. So they are very conscientious of how many conch they collect. There's a limit on the number of conch and a limit in the season. And so that helps the species as well when these types of things are regulations are put in place, and the Fishing Association fishers understand it. And one of the things that I learned, and Raimundo provided some of this information to me, was that when a fisherman at the Naguabo Fishing Association see the eggs with the female, they won't fish her. They'll leave her so that she can keep laying her eggs and make more babies. And I think that's a very beautiful thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your questions.
It's quite beautiful what you say, and it's very important. We hope that fishermen, you know, have that behavior more often, because it's very necessary to let the species grow and reproduce. So thank you for that information, Dr. Davis, and thanks to everyone who was here with us tonight, and to all the people that were on the Facebook Live too. We hope that you enjoy as much as we did, and you know, learn more about this topic. Maybe before saying goodbye, Dr. Dallas Alston told me to say hi to you.
Oh, that's nice.
I say hi to our friend. So say
please
hi
tell him
and
hello. Yep.
I will. So if anyone can, you know, turn on the camera so we can have a picture, you know, to remember this day and this moment. So I'm gonna say goodbye to the people that it's watching on Facebook Live, and I'm gonna stop the recording so we can take the picture and just wrap it up.